oftentimes the region. As usual, to host the show, I am Baguma Tinkasim Richard, and I do welcome you with glee and happiness. Thank you so much for always staying with us, and especially for some of you who give us feedback. We really appreciate your feedback. And the Family TV crew, thank you so much for always bringing us these shows and all the others. We applaud you, and especially the Church of Uganda, which is behind this show. Tonight, we want to talk about the regional issue of the East African community. Relevant for us because His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni has recently been given the instrument of chairmanship of the East African community. So we'll be looking at what does that mean for us, if it means anything, and what else can we gain or lose, if there's anything to lose, from this chairmanship and issues around the community itself. We will also hopefully look at the question of affirmative action. We just been through the International Women's Day, but also we've just gone through electoral processes. We haven't finished all of them actually. There are some elections which are coming up, and in all these electoral processes we have seats for affirmative action, and we can look at that as well and see what has that meant, if it has meant anything at all. And in studio this evening I would like to welcome a visiting fellow of the London School of Economics and Political Science, also honorable as the title goes, my friend Leandro Komakech. Leandro is many things. He's been a politician, he's been an academician, but also one of the people who has been on the circuit of media analysis and media commentary. You are very welcome, Honorable Komakech.
Thank you so much, Amos. I call this a reunion. Yes, for long we have not been together. Absolutely. So I feel very, very happy, and I had to travel from Gulu thinking that I'll get my friend that I lost for many years. So I'm happy to be in this show.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're very welcome. And how is Gulu?
Well, Gulu is, I would say, at a 50-50. We're kind of beginning to move into cultivation. Everybody is busy with the handhold, with the tractors, with all these things. As well as myself, I'm from the field as well. So from this show, I will be getting back to Gulu. Yes.
So you're very welcome.
Thank you.
We are really happy.
Thank you. Professor
Ogenga.
Ogenga.
No, it is the land is so fertile. We need to take good use of it now.
We will talk. I think we should get a show to talk about retirement into farming. I mean, it seems like it's a fashion.
I think it is something we forgot to do very early times. It is something I would put it as first priority. Because the way I'm seeing how people are reaping, even from coffee, we were told not to cultivate in the north. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah, of course. The sales are good. I mean,
yes.
You know, you're very welcome to the show. It's your inaugural.
Yes. My maiden appearance here. Family TV, which the family is just that unit that begins to shape life. So I feel very privileged to be here.
Very, very welcome. My resident analyst. My resident analyst, chairperson of the Pan-African Movement of Uganda, global geostrategic analyst, lawyer, and many other things. Dr. Garama, say hello to the viewers.
A very good evening to you, dear viewers, and salutations to my next neighbor, Comrade Honorable.
Thank you.
In the Pan-African world, Comrade is the highest title that.
No, I'm a Pan-Africanist.
Wonderful.
I even attended the 7th Pan-African.
Oh, yes.
Here? Yeah, I was a delegate.
But then we shall
as a
talk
youth.
after the show. So salutations to Comrade Leandro Komakech, and to you, Brother Baguma, and the management of Family TV.
So as he has just said, he said comrade is the highest level, so me, I'm a lower level brother.
We are still assessing
still
your
on the road.
credentials.
I'm still on the- But you're very welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for coming now. We are still expecting the Honorable Salam Musumba. I'm told by the production team that she had agreed to come. We are still hoping she will come to make a contribution to this show. But first, to this question or the issue of our getting to the East African Community chairmanship by our president, and therefore it's a country representation. But we have been chairman of many things.
Yeah.
I don't think we have even finished the G77.
There's Nana Line also. There's
Yeah,
what?
so we've been chairman of many things.
Of NRM.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah, the
chairmanship.
AU and the-
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so this particular one, it comes at an interesting time when there seems to be quarrels around the region. Also, escalation of conflict in several areas. Diplomatics run out in some of the places with our Western friends. And also the summit was not attended by two key heads of state, especially who are not on the best of terms. So I saw in some of the media analysis saying, okay, the president of Rwanda, the president of Congo did not want to attend it because they didn't want to meet, and then they sent emissaries. So we are coming onto the chair when we have a couple of things to deal with. Honorable Komakech, what is your reading of our chairmanship in those circumstances?
Yes, Comrade Amos, if I'm to use that as a guiding.
You are well guided.
Yes. I think for us to get into context with the current chairmanship, and even the challenges that the community faces, you need to have a deep reflection on how this community came about. And I think it seems to be there's a constant line of a challenge ever since its formation, which cannot be sorted out. So you remember when the British, with their colonial thinking, when they attempted to integrate our East African brothers, their interest was on business. They looked more critically on how to galvanize East Africans' airways and Abbas, that is to facilitate transport. They looked at what they call the East African High Commission. They looked at many other things. Now, fundamentally, the integration has been about economics.
Yes.
And the three East African countries accepted. By then, it was British-led governors that began the integration. Now, at the end of the day, when you see from 67, first of all, the interest for Nyerere was to have a one East African Independence Day. Yes. But he waited for all of us, and it was not.
We were not getting.
Yeah, so he proceeded. So you see that Pan-African spirit in that formation, leave alone the British thinking. So for me now, the critical question, even after the colonial powers have left or are hanging around, from 67, when we founded this thing, up to 77, that was a decade. Why did we collapse? It was political differences. The issues of East versus the West was terrible. Nyerere was a pure socialist. Obote was both. Amin was completely non-aligned. And so at the end of the day, political differences brought down our East African community. It had taken off so well. So well. Now, at the end of the day, when you look at the revitalization with all the initiatives of the Katigayas and all these, and President Museveni behind the wheel, we see that from 99 to date, we have moved a long distance. Now, we still see if two leaders cannot attempt to come it is still about political difference. So political difference is a constant variant in the whole of this equation of integration. We need a deeper study. Why is this a constant in all this integration process? How can the community overcome this? Now that is what they call an LCM that should be defined, the lowest common multiple. Yes, we need a common denominator that make us easy. Look at all these non-tariff barriers. They agree on protocols. You go for implementation, it is stuck. Now that is another structural challenge that we have apart from political. So at the end of the day, we hope now that the chairman, who was actually an advocate of re-establishing this community, is now the chair, right? I believe President Museveni, with all the Pan-African thinking, theory, and philosophy around him, he should now demonstrate how do you bring Congo properly in? How do you bring Rwanda properly in? Why are they quarreling? The two are quarreling because of economics, not even politics so much. You know. So at the end of the day, I see greater challenge is with the office of the chair. You see that the term that he acquired 2 days ago from Arusha makes meaningful benefits to the entire East African community. I believe it is so nice to be in this framework if we can go by the rules of the game. I don't see much else. So the assignment is with the chair. How best can you bring your brothers to the table? Because the summit always must be the summit if everybody attends. If a 3-2 decides to boycott, that means that there's a lot of work to be done. You know, I see Somalia has come on, but Ethiopia is thinking about coming.
They have applied.
They have applied.
They sent in an application.
Yes.
And Sudan did.
Yes. Now look at all this. And then look at also in terms of allegiance. You find Tanzania is with SADC. You find this side, Ethiopia and the rest there with the Horn of Africa is also very strong on their own. Now, all those are challenges that we need to sort out. Are you for one or you are for many? You know? So he has a lot of work on his table as far as the East African integration process is. It's very difficult and challenging. But I believe he has been on the Pan-African struggle for long. He should talk to his brothers and we sort out these things.
Dr. Garan, some people argue that the building blocks for Pan-Africanism are actually the regional blocks, like the East African community. Our president is now the chair, and she talks about Africa. Among other things, we see him driving this in that direction.
Thank you so much, Comrade Waguma. And many thanks.
Now I have been promoted.
Yes, yes. It sounds good.
And
It sounds very hopeful.
Comrade Kovakich's submission. I want to start as follows, and especially in line with the very question which you have just put to me. His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was actually part of the team that vehemently fronted for around 2010, I think, in South Africa, vehemently fronted for the what we would call integration, or the coming together of the entire Africa, the gaining of the political oneness, one Africa, using the regional economic blocks. He so much believed in that. In that, we can compare him, of course, the other, which had been proposed by the late Muammar Kano Gaddafi as a compromise. They said, no, we cannot now go back. And this was a repeat of actually what happened in 1969 at the very first Organization of African Congress, when the Casablanca group collided with the Monrovia group. The Monrovia group, where the likes of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere were involved. They were reasoning like how our chairman, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, reasoned in 2010 that through regional economic blocks we would gain independence. Whereas the Casablanca group of the Osejefo, Kwame Nkrumah, and Ben Bera and Moïda Keïta were of the strongest view that let us not leave this conference without one government, one currency, one army, least if we get comfortable in our offices, literal offices of Tanzania, where Ghana being saluted and opened doors for, we are going to find it very uncomfortable for us to relinquish our presidential offices and become like governors. So when we do it now, then we go back as probably regional governors. But they lost, as we all know. The Casablanca group lost, and I think the problems of Africa started then. Therefore, when you look at how Africa has been suffering, but trying by all means through regional economic blocks, which are not recent, to ensure that they build one Africa, then you appreciate the late realization that one Africa was actually what should have been achieved much longer. Now it is a little bit difficult because of the interferences. And I'm not saying the foreign interferences were even not there in 1963, but now they have manifested themselves in so many forms and shapes. Therefore, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni being the chairman now, in 1 year, because like Comrade Komagech has just mentioned, and I join issues, indeed, our president was part of the team of, I think, Mukapa, His Excellency Mukapa, His Excellency Mwinyi, His Excellency Moi, that revived the present day East African community. And I think he mentioned it during his acceptance speech. And when you look at the East African Community Treaty, what its purpose is to achieve, and that we have achieved so far, when you look at the non-tariff barriers, when you look at the closing of the borders for other reasons, other than really very fundamental disagreements, when you look at the dispute resolution mechanisms, when member states get problems, you still see that there is a lot. When you look at how Kenya, for instance, stops export of our maize on account of aflatoxins, when actually the Ugandan maize or cereals aflatoxins were measured to be at less than 10%, and theirs are well over 30%, then you get the sense that we still have a lot of work to do. Nevertheless, you appreciate the fact that, look, this is a body that has been growing at a very fast rate. Question is, what are these other members seeing in a body like EACA? Other bodies are falling apart. You know, ECOWAS just recently lost 3 members. Probably they are even going to lose another one. They are holding on to grass, which is very shaky. But it is only the EACA, East African Community, that has been gaining membership. We started with only 3. Now we are threatening to go to 11. Ethiopia applied, and they must be fast-tracking the application. Sudan, the main Sudan, actually applied before Southern Sudan, but the application was put in abeyance simply because of the differences we had, Khartoum government and us harboring Kony. And now that when they had started on it, then they ran into these problems which they have currently. In other words, the East African community, all the problems that it has endured, notwithstanding, is one of the fastest growing or expanding communities threatening to have a political federation, and that now forms my next part of explanation. And I will make it short. I will make it very short.
No. I'm not talking about the time you are using.
Oh, see, okay.
No.
What are you talking about?
I think now your optimism must be checked.
Aha.
Political federation?
Yes.
Really?
We shall go there. It is the fourth. It is the fourth. Everybody, you see, it is very good to set goals. Even in budgeting, and we have been doing a lot of budgeting, I know. Even in budgeting,
but I do realistic
they say,
budgeting.
no, even in budgeting they say that, no, I want to tell you, by the way, that there is so much Africa has achieved against a lot of doubts. For instance,
but
Africa overcame colonialism.
I want to
but
say,
who knew?
I want to say that doubt on political federation is not unfounded.
No, any other doubt for that matter was not unfounded. When Africa achieved, when, by the way, less than 40 members that had gained independence on the African continent regained their independence and went to organization to Ethiopia for that conference, little did any of them or those who were doubting Thomas's knew that by 1994, for instance, South Africa under the white man's regime apartheid could be independent in that format. Therefore, my argument is, when you look at all the four objectives, main objectives of EYACA, and the last one, the last level of that goal being political federation, in my opinion, I will agree with you to the extent that it is not a walk in the leisure park. But I will also come back to state that it is achievable. Times change and things happen. But I also wanted to conclude this by saying, look at it this way. A federation, I mean a community of this nature, that you have removed non-tariff barriers, that you have formed a common market, that you are gearing up to achieve political federation. These things are not simple. And wherever we have had the organizations or communities of this nature, we have had problems. But problems are there to be sorted out. If, for instance, we were having sleepless nights, we would have disbanded the African Union, because there is so much we expected the African Union to achieve that it has not achieved. But at the same time, there is also so much that African Union has achieved, and we hope that by galvanizing it and giving it time and energy and our thoughts, yes, so many declarations have been made, and probably they have been half made or not made at all. The European Union,
as you conclude,
yes, European Union, which should be a shining example, reached the point not many years ago. One of the founding members and the biggest, one of the biggest economies there, which calls the former colonizer Britain through Brexit, went out. I want to believe, therefore, that by us realizing that this is not a walk in a leisure park, by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, one of the founders who reignited the reintroduction of the East African community taking up the chairmanship. Although it is rotational, it is for 1 year, I have a very big feeling that he is going to see through some of these things, and he has the capacity to bring the forces that would have split apart or derailed what has been derailed so far, and we progress on achieving the objectives and goals of the East African community.
Honorable Komakech,
Yes, please.
I am struggling to share even half the enthusiasm and conviction of Dr. Rugaram. I don't know why he's drawing this level of enthusiasm.
I think
Because let me just say why I am a little doubtful, Honorable Komakech.
no, I know.
It's fast. Guys are not paying. The little fees,
Yeah.
they are not. And this is consistent. So if people are not paying the little fees, the thing is facing debts, financial strain. They are even struggling to change the formulas of contribution. Now we have a new formula from the old one. The guys are bickering. You bickering over the other time we almost went to war over a small rock in Lake Victoria, a tiny rock, piece of rock. That is how we say, oh, free trade. For God's sake, free trade. We can't take even eggs across the borders, and we are talking about free trade. We talk about free movement of labor. Really? I have very close experiences. It took 10 years for one of my closest family members of working in Kenya to get a permit. Dr. Rugarama knows that I went as a student not too long ago, stayed 2 years on a course. I could not get my permit. I got it as a souvenir after I had graduated. I mean, really, Honorable Komakech, you see why I don't even share half the enthusiasm and conviction?
I know.
Am I being too negative?
No, Comrade Amos, I think I see when you over experience many challenges, you become a real pessimist. You really see everything working in a wrong direction. But listening from,
now I was seated with you and making calls
Yes.
to the airport. My brother is going for checkup, medical checkup, and they were asking for a doctor's letter.
that is Jomo Kenyatta.
And here, in
Entebbe.
the Kenya
Kenyan Airways.
Yes, really.
We have a long way to go. But from what I have listened from Dr. He seems to be what I would call a structural optimist. He's looking at this thing not in the short term. He believes that some of the challenges can be overcome in the long term. So if you look at even where we got African Union from, OAU,
The organization
as he was explaining the origin of OAU, you see what I remember in my political science, the Casablanca and the Monrovia group, was even about the debate about whether it should be Organization for African Unity or of African Unity. And the Casablanca group were arguing, as he stated, they were defeated. They wanted it to be for African unity. The other guys wanted it of African unity. Now, of African unity succeeded. But you see, the success failed in the long term.
Absolutely.
You know, you cannot say organization, yes, organization of African unity. That presupposes that we are already organized.
I'm even glad, if I may give you this information, that Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, before his death, he went to the grave of Osejefo Kwame Nkrumah and apologized that had he seen what Nkrumah saw, he would have joined him.
Yes. You remember Nkrumah even tested with the Guinea. Who was that?
Or
in Guinea, where he was.
Cabral.
Yeah, No, what was Sekou Toure? Sekou Toure said, let us have a joint presidency to test whether Pan-Africanism works.
One was French, one was English.
Yes. But their interest of the African spirit was very strong. Now, from that, you see that if we had organization for African unity, there would be no need for African Union. Because African Union presupposes that organization for African unity could have worked. Now, if you carry along with what we have here, the challenges we have, I think running sovereign state is a very difficult thing. Sovereignty is a disease that it takes long for someone to let go power. Even in our families, it comes, as the head of the family, you always keep certain powers that you do not use anyhow, but somehow you use them when it is necessary. Now that is the challenge facing us, that we agree to work together, but when it comes into issues that touches on our survival as a state, we begin to think, I think for now, let's wait. Now that's why we have kept waiting. I remember they even had, is it a Odoke group? There's an Odoke Commission of East African thing. I remember they did some study, the Musemes, Professor Musemes and the team. They produced a report. The report, I think, has been shelved. I think this is the time. The current chair should go back to that report and look at what these people generated. Is it Council of Elders?
Yes,
they generated some very good report which can help his office to do what is supposed to be done. So, without fearing anything, the political equation is the greatest equation that is bringing the challenge. The economics, the communities are struggling. The members of the community, a Ugandan, a Kenyan, a Tanzanian, you can see through education. If you test our higher education here, it was bringing everybody kind of in a very slow but very systematic way. My wife comes from Kenya. I just got her because of coming to study in Makerere University. So I have seen that a community-driven integration is stronger than the state-driven.
Yes.
So what we need most is to open up the free movement of labor. If that is open, the political equation will be automatic, will be natural. But as long as freedom of movement is restricted in terms of labor, where you cannot get work permit easily, we are not integrating. So at the end of the day, the question is, why are the state parties very reluctant to give permits for work? Why should it take 10 years for you to get a work permit? Why? We have seen here, if you're in the north, the South Sudanese, we treat them as real brothers. They have learned to cultivate. They have when I was coming this morning, a quarter are in the bus. And they are free, totally free. Actually, they find that they are more free than the citizens. They even dictate terms. So what we see at present is about policy. It is what is killing us. The individual in Rujumbura, in Gulu, in Kasese, they are very okay with integration. But as long as the government can guide them on what to do. I know we have fears for certain jobs that are few and everything else, but that can be controlled. But in terms of opening up trade, surely, I have seen trucks, Kenyan trucks going to the north and parking in the gardens. But for particular type of crops. But then you also hear government of Kenya restricting our eggs. I remember when I was in parliament, we had a whole debate about this. I remember Kadaga brought a whole debate on eggs and chicken, and eggs and milk. Then I said, Madam Speaker, really, can we reduce this parliament for a P7 debate? That we cannot deal with eggs. It is highly politicized issue. We cannot deal with the milk, and it has continued. I hope the chair, he's also a farmer himself. He has a big interest in milk. I hope he sorts out this issue. So for me at present, the challenge also is with the secretariat. Or we should even look for some other organizations that should do study for the organization, because East African community may not itself explain the real problems. It needs an independent.
This secretariat which has no money to run, really the guys' salaries have not been paid. How do you want guys to run? They have now reached the point to say that the MPs for the East African Legislative Assembly, because of the problems of non-payment of subscription, now they should be paid by their home parliaments.
It is becoming like school fees.
Absolutely.
If you don't pay, get out of school.
This is the point, really.
But I think this is where it is timely to get the chair of the community being President Museveni. He has the experience of bad experience, and he also has very good experience of good experience. So with all that, he should now take that to the community and begin to break them one by one. Because as long as the presidencies of all these states are not in tandem with their thinking, it is going to be very difficult. Because the bureaucracies down there in means of finance and what, they should make this as a priority. Because this is the direction where we want. Why is it that it is called unfunded priority? If you go to budgeting, unfunded priority, it pains me to see that we never see any budget like that. So at the end of the day, I think the political will should be a key determinant. We cannot say we don't have money. No, a state has money. It is only priority. If Uganda says we are going to allocate this amount of money for this, it is very important. Even in terms of our foreign policy, if we are supposed to integrate for better, why not do it? The pain can be for now, but the benefits are forever. So it is about political decision.
Okay.
If we do not take that stride, then it is very hopeless to continue calling ourselves we are in East African community. I don't think it will make any sense. Uganda Railway was built from Mombasa to Kampala, and it continued. It was for trade.
By Indians.
But the British.
The British
and
were supervising.
And I was shocked.
A hoe.
I was shocked. I was shocked when I was in the Committee of Foreign Affairs. I was shocked when we went to Nairobi that we should go and establish our assets, which we had in the first phase of this African community. Do you know Uganda was so rich? Even the railway line was our asset because we paid for it.
Yeah.
But when we raised the matter with the Attorney General of Kenya, he said this matter can bring a very big political storm. We should talk slow. I said no. The British requested that they get a loan in the UK to build Uganda Railway. They got a loan which was to be paid by cotton and coffee coming out from Uganda, not anything from Kenya. So the land that the railway line took through up to here was paid for through that loan.
Yeah, we compensate.
So we needed now the current Kenyan government to hand over the railway line as it is from Mombasa to Tororo. But when we raised the issue of our assets, because that was part of our assets, we were told that thing needs a summit discussion. Yes. So we have a lot of benefits from this East African integration. I see if you go to Mombasa, 3/4 of all the buildings you see there are Ugandan properties for coffee, for cotton, for tea, for what? Now, we should just see a way of how to expand these opportunities. Now that the oil is there, we thought oil would go through Port Lamo. Now it's going through Port.
The Tanzanian.
Is it Tanzanian what? Which port is that?
That's what Mwanza.
The one.
No, not the one.
Dar.
Yes, just nearer to Dar.
Yeah.
But all these are opportunities we should utilize. Now I see the reconstruction of Uganda Railway. Gulu is soon going to get a new railway line, which will continue to West Nile. Now all these are strategic because there's even a talk it will enter Congo. There's a belief that it will go to Juba. Now,
Yes.
so I think we need priority. And this should be a mandate that the presidencies should have that there's no more just political rhetorics of money is not there. Money is there. The goodwill is what is lacking. So for me, I would still stand firm. In the spirit of Pan-Africanism, we can deliver. It may be painful delivery in the short term, but it will be very beneficial in the long term.
Yeah.
And look, are you aware that East African Community was a model that the British used for starting European Economic Community?
As always, we have models.
They used their colonial experience to go and take lead in opening the East African Economic European Economic Community. But it was the same Britain that jumped out of it, and yet it was their own model they picked from East African success.
They wanted to be bosses. You know how they are. They wanted to be the only bosses on top. They realized that in that equation, there were bigger economic...
the pound was going to disappear.
German,
the what?
And there were Italy,
the sovereign king was there.
So they were not after all the biggest guys. And what do you expect from former colonial masters?
They'll go away.
I remember they were, someone told them that, but you are just an island. You are not the main mainland in Europe.
So don't go away like Britain went away
from their own good experience.
Yeah, from the European Union. We are going for a short break. We come back. We will conclude on this matter of this East African community and the wider integration of Africa. Because you see, you talked about and we'll pick it from there. You talked about political will, but how can you have political will when the Gen Zs are exporting revolution across borders?
I remember the president.
This is an issue we are going to talk about. The president has been talking about. They have exported revolution. Attempted to Uganda, took it to Tanzania, and you can see. So the politicians will be on their tenterhooks. Should they open their borders for exportation of Gen Z revolution? So when we come back, this is one of the issues I want to talk about. I want to thank you for staying with us, and please don't go away. I still have the Honorable Leandra Komakech and Dr. Daniel Rugarama. Baguma Tika Richard, unfortunately, we have not been able to see the Honorable Salam Musumba. We really had expected that she would be here because we can also pick her experiences and wisdom and contributions to this. But don't go away, we are coming back in a short while. Thank you so much for staying with us. And we really are happy to still have you. And Baguma Tinkasinero Richard, I'm here hosting this. It's the bottom line. It's from your Church of Uganda TV, Family TV. And Leandro Komakech is with me in studio. Leandro Komakech is a visiting fellow at the London School of Economics and Political Science. And then Comrade Dr. Daniel Rugarama of the Pan-African Movement and the geostrategic analyst. So, gentlemen, welcome back to studio.
Thank you.
I really am feeling sad that we didn't get the Honorable Proskovia Salam Musumba. But
she'll come back. She'll come.
But
We shall go and look for her.
Yes. Before we went to the break, Dr. Rugarama, I was telling you that you see this perennial optimism, where the Gen Z are exporting revolution to countries, and you expect the leaders not to worry and keep the borders in check. I think they have legitimate reasons to worry. I can tell you one of my experiences, and I've had quite a experiences in this. When I was traveling frequently to Kenya as a student, one of the times, one of the security people who is from one of the security establishments really close to my chairman came to ask me, but why are you going to Kenya every week? Really? Yeah, and then we had to go and sit in the lounge, and I knew him by name. And I said, I'm very disappointed. So this is how you do your security. I thought you were monitoring if you were worried. So Ugandans should not be going to Kenya.
He should know.
I said, but my brother-in-law is a Musanya. He actually, part of their land is in. And then he said, no, but you are not a Musanya.
You should actually know how many people are now going to DRC.
So how many buses you cross? But that's the mentality.
That's a very poor mentality.
Person, not low rank, at the international airport. And then but what about Gen Zs? Maybe I was also going to export Gen Zs who are not there yet.
Yeah, but you see, Comrade Baguma and our esteemed viewers, and I think this is what the president of Uganda, the now chairman of EACA, was talking about in his speech. He commented about these Gen Zs. I would have no problem with the Generation Z, because at one time we were also used, and it's not many years ago we left that stage, maybe 10 or so. But really, the point that we should be making now with the Gen Zs is what sort of conversation are we having? And I think the president tried to bring it out. The type of conversation we should be having is, what is the EACA, the East African community, about? What have we been able to achieve? What have we not been able to achieve? What are the problems of Africa, for instance? If we are talking about the poor road network, we are talking about the Africa not being opened up. We are talking about a continent who by 2005 around there, the studies that were made put the intra-trade at well below 15%. That the levels of trade between and among the African countries were well below 15%. You see the problem that we are looking at now. We are saying around that time, the European community, the intra-trade percentage was averaging 75-77%. When will those countries ever think about going to war? They have got a lot to protect. We are talking about now realizing that problem. The African Union has come up with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And in that, the Secretariat being in Ghana, in that, and that's why I was saying we should have faith that some of these things can be done. I'm just trying to, you made a fundamental point. Yes.
That intra-African trade.
At around 2004 was well below 15%.
Yeah, but you see,
Yes.
that's 205.
Yes. And now
it's
I
20
should
years.
tell you,
It's 20 years.
I should tell
It
you
has
where we are now.
remained within.
No, it has not. We are now well over between 47 to 52%. That's a plus.
20 something years later
Yes, it's a plus.
of union, of,
That-
of unity and opening up.
To the extent that now we can give live examples. What kind of trade were we having between Uganda, for instance, and Algeria? We are now talking about coffee and we're talking about milk. What trade were we having with Morocco, for instance? Morocco largely, no wonder it attempted twice to escape from African Union. Even though they were having trouble with the Republic of Sahrawi, and the position of African Union was that Republic of Sahrawi should be independent, and it is independent according to the African Union. So therefore,
They were running from your confusion.
they are also equally confused. Now, who brought them back finally? So therefore, for me, Comrade Waguma, my main take here is that the moment we change the conversation, the moment we interest, because the enemy is out there and is looking at us, the project which Africa started, like now we are talking about the Africa Free Continental Trade Area. If you can know the amount of enemy, the enemy force, especially from the European Union and North America, that the pressure they are exerting on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it is immense. When you look at how some European countries, and even ourselves, I'm not excusing ourselves, because not long ago, Kenya, something that it should have done along with, because the intention is that the EACA community negotiates as a bloc some of these things when it is negotiating with, say, Europe and maybe America.
Absolutely.
And that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And
that was the purpose.
And then we are
But
worrying about
Kenya,
importing resolutions.
but Kenya runs and negotiates alone. You saw what
Yes, absolutely.
William Ruto was
Absolutely.
doing. And that one is part of the problem. That's why I'm saying that yes, EACA members have got their own problems, which probably now, with the assumption of office by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, relying on his wealth of knowledge and institutional memory, he will be able to help us overcome some of these challenges. Because, look, you mentioned it here. What is the fundamental problem between DRC and Rwanda? Really, as far back during the times of Julius Mwalimu Nyerere,
They are suffering the Berlin
he
effect.
talked about the Berlin effect
They are
of
still- they are still
1884-85.
suffering from the Berlin
All of us are victims of the Berlin effect. Because if that was the problem, none of us of the African country would be talking to each other.
But
He told
1884,
you
1884, we are
from
still-
1884.
we are still suffering.
No,
What
what
are we
I'm
talking
saying,
about?
what I'm saying is that, you see, the problems that we are suffering, even these other countries are also suffering them. The only question should be that what happened, that historical mistake that happened, how are we coping in as far as solving the problem is concerned? And I'm saying that by creating an institution like the East African Community, it is part of solving the problem of Balkanization. Because it is our problem. Balkanization is our problem. Lack of opening up the continent infrastructurally is a problem. The extremely limited intra-trade is a problem. But most importantly, going back to the Gen Z, is the ideological bankruptcy. Are we ideologically clear about what the problem of Africa, what the problem of Uganda and East Africa is? Small markets is a problem. There is no way we cannot be concerned, Comrade Waguma, in concluding on this. As the entire Africa having a GDP of well below 4 trillion, the entire Africa, well below 4 trillion.
USD.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet we are talking about China with well over 22 trillion. United States of America with well over 31 trillion.
And yet
Literal South Korea.
we almost compare for some of those in population.
Yes, I mean, like India.
In natural resources.
In China they are 1.4 billion.
But we are even
Uganda,
bigger
Africa we are 1.4 also around
we are
there.
even bigger geographically in some, for some,
We are
some
extremely bigger.
Yes.
That's a fact. Therefore, for me, my take really is that the moment we change the conversation that we are having, what is the nature of our debate? These kind of debates we are having here, can they percolate down to schools, universities? Because we are giving and encouraging raw, elementary, poor debate in different institutions. We come up with very poor reasoning, and we end up prescribing, not even identifying the problem. Because the moment you don't know what the problem is, it's very difficult for you to prescribe the right medication.
The Honorable Komakes, let me, you see, for me, I take from my lived examples. I have variously lived in Europe. I actually even currently live in Europe, quote unquote, because I have a home there. As soon as I enter, I start going. I got onto the train and go. Vienna to Geneva. When I am entering the ship here at the going to Tanzania, because I am going to move, it's all Lake Victoria with an Aruba. Because I'm going from this portion of Lake Victoria to this portion, according to the Botton effect. Then they have to fill my passport with the really. And we are talking about community, and we think that President Yoweri Museveni, in 1 year, is going to do this. In fact, some of the East African countries worry about him. If you hear some of the populations, they will be saying, this man is going to export strangling of democracy. He's teaching the people to lift term limits. These things have been in the papers, in the media, on social media. So, both of you, gentlemen, I still put you to task that you are over enthusiastic.
Extremely courageous. We are Pan-Africans.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, if you listen to what Dr. Daniel was raising, you see, these Gen Zs we talk about, leave alone Gen Zs, even the millennials, they're closely related in terms of time span. We were all there. But I think if I remember how proactive we were as Gen Zs or millennials, you know, I remember during the Pan-African, those days of Pan-African movement things, this man dies in Tanzania, was shot, was assassinated, Chris Hani. We demonstrated here. I was not even in Makerere, but an A-level student, we are running up to Clock Tower because of the death of Chris Hani. You know, that kind of vigilance is now lacking. I don't know, because of technologies that have shifted radically, but still we need to find out in terms of policy processes, why are Gen Zs behaving the way they behave? I don't know whether we have answers as government. The president told us yesterday about one that he gave them transport to go back home.
Yeah, because that's the method. You know, throw money at some.
So I think at the policy level, we need to really understand why certain things happen the way they happen, so that we can get cure to those things. If you look at Africa, as you said, the Berlin effect, even beyond the Berlin effect, look at how our curriculums were designed. It is designed in such a format that remains undecolonized. So at the end of the day, you perceive to be less of the other. You know, even when you go for big academic conferences, I remember I was in Oxford presenting on the issues of global South-North. and issues of technology and how Facebook and others are really ripping Africa seriously on content moderation. You know, at the end of the day, you are paying $30 per hour to a content moderator who's a Gen Z, you know, per hour, content moderator. Facebook pays or Meta. Then you go to Google Summer Source, which is part of Meta. They pay $1.
Can imagine.
To a Gen Z from Gulu University or within Gulu town. But the young person is so happy that is paid $1 per hour for 8 hours. So it goes with $8 multiplied times 7 days. Then multiplied by 1 month. He's feeling so nice. You know? So that sense of being so little. At a bigger scale, yeah.
Thinking small.
Yeah. At this bigger scale, look at, I was questioning in Oxford, who named Indian Ocean when Africa is even bigger than India? that logic of belittling Africa as a continent is very big. India is a subcontinent, but this ocean is called Indian Ocean. So we were in a class of 30. People kept quiet. You know, we were only 2 Africans. Then I said, look to the west of Africa. It's called Pacific, Atlantic. It has nothing to do with Africa. But we also call it Atlantic.
But we call it Lake Victoria.
Here, Lake Victoria.
That's even worse.
It is worse. We are inside here.
We are going to
Go to Lake Albert.
Yeah, it's Lake Albert.
Eh? Now, the pain here
Overnight.
between Acholi and Banyoro, Mazician, we used to call it, at least Amin brought it to Kavalek, but I think he took it back to Mazician National Park. Now, we have a big challenge. So at the end of the day, we should review on how Gen Zs are also, because Gen Zs are fed on foreign products. And that is where they immediately compare. But here, we are not taking our interest on how to develop these young talents. If you're in Europe and you see how they do it for their kids, it is very, very different. So we are suffering from our laziness of not redirecting these people early enough and how they should be tuned. Because if everybody thinks that TikTok is the only thing to do, you know, you see all these pigs running around and everybody's in, and it is amazing that these days young people or even old people, you sit, but everybody will be quiet. Everybody is engaging with the whole world on their own. You know, sometimes I feel so bad. I meet friends, I said we go and talk, and no one is talking. Over just a few bottles of drinks. Everybody is glued on their mobile phones. You know? So at the end of the day, we are losing so many things in terms of that Africanness that we always talk about. It's going. Yeah, it's totally going. So for me, we must be very deliberate. I see the East African Community agenda on monetary union. If you look from custom, even issues of custom union, we have not sorted them out.
No way.
They are just hanging, question marks on all of them. You know? Then you come to, we have knocked on the issue of monetary union. It is still not, we are not clear.
It's not yet streamlined.
Yeah, it's not yet streamlined. But there's some movement, there's some progress, though with it's not so much. And political federation will only be automatic if the monetary union can be, we talk of one parliament, one ward, one president. You know, when you know that the monetary union is sorted, but all our bureaucrats behave with the perception that this cannot be. And yet that is the assignment to be done. Now for me, that is where the weight of the chair should now matter. It will be now measured squarely by what is going to happen in this 1 year.
The
yes.
scorecard will be reading
Yes.
during your tenure.
Yes, this is
Some
what
of the
happened.
things that were hanging.
Yes.
How did you
Exactly.
conclude them?
So President Museveni is on spotlight to chair this community for 1 year. Must transform into positive outcomes that is going to change the dynamics, so now we move to political
There is
federation.
some information, Comrade
Yes.
Kobakech.
Yes.
At the African Union, the entire Africa, annually, before the establishment of the Pan-African Payment Mechanism, which operates under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we were losing hundreds of $millions in exchange rate
Yes.
by trading amongst ourselves. But with the establishment of Pan-African Payment Mechanism, we have saved that money now.
Now you see.
And it is being redirected. The Secretariat is not as dry as,
as
we
it
have
used to
been
be.
crying in Accra. So some of these things are possible. It's just having a positive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe we should have a currency already. We should be thinking of the name. Is it called Afro?
Yeah, currency they proposed it. They actually the challenges which we are having here. You remember the only country that was left to join the Africa Continental Free Trade Area was Eritrea, but finally they joined. And the proposal of a currency is also there. But again, it is what we are talking about here. The regional blocks.
Yeah.
They thought the regional blocks would come with after regrouping themselves and having a currency, then it would transform
into
the
the-
other
yeah.
African Union. And that's why they are partners. They don't look at them as rivals. Regional economic blocks are partners forming themselves into the African Continental Free Trade.
And that is why DRC, whether we like them, we hate them, DRC as a state party, we need them. Because DRC is coming with a very big economy, potential.
It was wonderful
Yes.
that the DRC joined the East African
Yes.
community. And if anybody takes that credit,
Yes.
whether that person is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni or whoever it is,
Yeah.
then I'm very happy for that.
Yeah.
You should see what our boys are actually doing in DRC. Fabrication is all by Ugandans. They are the ones making these fuel tanks. They are the ones who are making these the saucepans and what have you. That market is controlled by Ugandans. Of course, you will say, now here, why are we not having banks? Why are we not have? At least we have started there. This business of belittling our very own is a very bad culture.
Yeah.
It is a neo-colonial education mentality. It should die.
Okay,
Let me give you
Yes,
an
as you
example.
conclude, Yes.
I participated in a repatriation of the Lord's Resistance Army elements from Central African Republic. Now, for 2 years, we engaged on how we should bring back these young men who had become, of course, real adults. In my report to the government of Uganda, I observed when I was in Central African Republic the potential. Actually, I didn't know Central African Republic is just equally rich like DRC. In Central African Republic, gold, alluvial gold flows with water. Physically, I could not believe it.
You know a review.
I know.
They don't on surface.
Yes.
He.
I said, what is this?
When it rains a
Yes,
lot, you
you
go
see.
downstream, you pick.
And that is why all rebel groups are in Central Africa. Because you have your portion, it is like you are, you're a bit of a garden, Lusuku, to use Luganda. You scoop for like 2 kilometers. That is your part. This Koyel, not Koyel, Ongwen, Dominic Ongwen, he was arrested when he was waiting for his payment. He was arrested when he sold diamond. He sold diamond to Seleka. Seleka guys cheated him by handing him over to the Americans. And that's why he's in The Hague. So I said, is this the dynamics of things? He said, no, here, it is man eat man society. This country is so rich. The government in Bangui only knows how to live in Bangui. The entire Eastern Central African Republic is to whom it may concern. So at the end of the day, that is why LRA found a very nice ground to survive. So when we brought them back home here, of course Joseph is still hanging around the other side, you find out that in my report, I said Central African Republic should have an opportunity to join the East African community.
After all, if
You know, and we must, the government of Uganda should provide unilaterally a security road from Arua to a place called Mboki. Mboki is the other side of Obo, which is neighboring Congo from the other side. And it's 1,000 kilometers. And you find that a Central African border rides from there up to Arua. The motorcycle is made in such a way that it's so hard and it can hit so many goods, and they ride in the village path of the countryside up to Central Africa. So, but if you open up a road, what amount of business are you going to open?
Open up Africa. And
to Central Africa.
It is not in the best interest, by the way, of our enemy to have our continent opened up.
Yeah.
The road that United States of America, the so-called Washington Accords, that where they have sanctioned the high military ranking officers of Rwanda, have got nothing to do. Trump and his administration has got nothing to do with the prosperity, the development of DRC. Homegrown solutions, yes, and somebody out there, probably some of our viewers will say, Comrade Rugamba can be very optimistic. Yes, it is this optimism that is going to shift this continent from where it has been known to be to another level.
Now, we promised our viewers that we are going to have a bit of a discussion on affirmative action.
You know, we are so grounded on our Pan-African agenda.
So, because you see, and I'm going to talk about this. If you look at, there have been arguments actually, that if you really want to have integration, you have to target the women.
As entrepreneurs.
The women of Africa. That because they face a lot of barriers, that you have to do even more deliberate facilitation, that they will have cross-border interaction at all levels. Cross-border fashion, cross-border, cuisines, cross-border trade, small scale, medium scale. So that's one of the things. But that is at the continental level. But I wanted to bring it to the Ugandan level. We've been having a lot of affirmative action initiatives to uplift the woman. Now, Honorable Komakechi, are you happy? Do you feel confident that your daughter, if you have one, that your young sister, over the years, has been empowered to achieve her potential?
Oh, well, I'll take it on two levels. One, from a policy level, and then two, from a cultural level. First of all, when you look at pre-colonial state of our situation before Uganda became Uganda, you find out that actually roles were complementary. Roles were not structured to say this is so patriarchal and therefore everybody's under so and so. I remember, like in Acholi, when it comes to war, it is a woman that declares war.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many viewers.
Because in Acholi society, they believe that a grandmother who is above 85 years has enough wisdom to say yes or no for anybody to go and fight. So in Acholi believes they see that men are not fit to declare war. So instead the woman will sit and perform a function, and she may stop a war from going on. It happened in one of the different clans were fighting. She said no, there is nothing to fight about. If you go and fight, you will finish yourself. And those guys indeed finished themselves. So it became a precedent that women were so powerful. But the whole thing is about complementarity. The whole thing about the Western scholarship is that that heavy loaded patriarchal thinking was put onto our culture, and we now reason like them. So at the end of the day, I still believe in the normal issues of policy that affirmative action is needed. Yes. And how should it be done? There are two levels. I will not be on too much academic about this. I want to speak from a policy basic understanding that in Uganda, if you look at how gender roles were rolled out, you find out that the girl child was very disadvantaged just because of our heaviness in terms of being patriarchal. Now, but you would also see that some women came out of it. Some prominent names can be cited along the way. But at the end of the day, I would want to make an observation that while we have struggled a lot, you remember even the UN put the decade of the women in the 70s. And Amin picks that decade of the women to mean positions should just be. And I mean, did only one thing on the issue of affirmative action, that he has found out that women are very good managers in hotels because they cook very well. So Amin declared in a decree that all Uganda hotels should have women managers.
I remember that.
You remember that? You know, it was done. But that was reflecting on the decade of the women by the UN. But we begin to see a very consistent approach on women affirmative action. From I remember Miriam Botton giving a speech in 1984 on the International Women's Day.
I've seen the clip.
Yeah. She was very measured.
She sounded like the leader of the Women League in opposition.
Yes. it sounded so nice in 1984. But then we begin to see 86 when the Bushmen arrived.
The Bushmen, meaning us in the NRA.
Of course they were the Bushmen.
When we came out of the bush.
Of course, but you know. Okay, so you see from that period, the 10 points program, for those who remember, the issue of the women was very explicit. And when I see it from a policy angle, you see the introduction of certain direct outcomes that let there be space for women in representation. Okay? So the representation issue became a very important aspect of beginning to have issues of affirmative action. Because affirmative action means giving advantage to the disadvantaged. You know? And that is it. So at the end of the day, we saw a third of councils, you know, being given to the women. And then you also saw through education, policy was changed to give advantage to the disadvantaged. Let the girls who cannot achieve the points required. But then Makere was still Makere. So 1.5 became a very absolute addition, step to that progress, which I think still stands today for all universities.
Public universities.
Yeah, public universities. Now, the only thing that now needs to be improved, you see, the Constitution in 1995 also actually now brought the whole of those issues as a constitutional issue. So solving gender equality using our constitutional frameworks, I think, was one of the most fundamental success. So at the end of the day, I see one important thing, that while the Constitution acknowledges that across board, let there be a fair way of how affirmative action should be addressed. But if you dig deeply, you find out that yes, a woman leader can represent the district. That's okay. But at the end, you also see that affirmative action to some women, they're also getting stuck with it. They do not want to be progressive. They want to say, if you sit in a district, you sit forever. I've seen it in my place there. You know, from day one when a woman becomes a woman leader, it becomes impossible to remove that person. But we thought these were progressive spaces to allow momentum and bring men on board. But it is becoming a different ball game. But for me, my advocacy is about, we have formal representation before the law, right? That you can be a third of this. But for me, I'm looking at substantive equality. The aspect of economic empowerment.
So substantive equality means economic empowerment.
Yes, because if you make sure that there are deliberate attempts through policies to ensure that the women are just as strong as the men, then you don't need affirmative action in the long run. So you need to dig more on the substantive component of the policy. Go to Norway. If you are in Norway, the women now are stronger than men in terms of economic empowerment, everything else, even politically. Actually, in foreign service, Norwegians send women for very difficult countries because they believe that women have done the best representation ever since they started sending them. Like in Uganda, they have only been sending women.
Oh, we are a difficult.
Yes, they say that Uganda is a difficult state. That's what they say. I didn't know. I was surprised.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I'm beginning to believe that through substantive empowerment, the issue of gender equality can be sorted instead of just having a formal equality before the law. For me, that is the aspect I see is missing, and there should be deliberate attempts to do. Yeah.
Dr. Garama, I do chair, among other things, a board of a small community-based organization called the Galaxy Boy Child Empowerment. It stems from what the Honorable Maketi, that we can take the gospel of gender equality to create inequality.
Yeah.
And that there's a dichotomy of this affirmative action. That some people get stuck in positions, so affirmative action becomes static and becomes individualized. But from your position and on the balance of things, has affirmative action achieved more, achieved less, or is it stagnating?
If you may permit me the latitude, the emancipation of women world over, or the position of a woman, let me state it this way, the position of a woman world over and in the annals of history has been very intriguing, in the sense that when you look at the African continent, for instance, most of these powerful kingdoms we are talking about, Dahomey, Kush, then the present day Somalia, Ethiopia, I've already Asante, Hene, Ghana, present day Ghana. The position of a woman, actually, they even had women leaders.
Yes.
Historically, yes. The women leaders, and very strong ones, who would even command wars and they would win. Therefore, Africa has got this type of history. The powerful senior comrade Cheikh Diop eloquently writes about the position of a woman on the African continent. And you get the sense that there is a way Africa as a continent reserved the position of a woman. The society was structured in such a way that there was no competition. And my colleague, Comrade Deandre here talked about it. The concept of competition was not in there. The nature as coded by God was respected. We were complementary. What we have, however, these days is, and without any pun intended, is a bit of competition. And probably maybe that has been brought about by some of these emerging concepts like feminism and that kind of thing. Although feminism, my big sister Chimamanda, in Nigeria, The Right of Half a Son, and so many other books. If she had me, she would crucify me, talking about feminism. But I'm not saying it in bad faith, really. I'm always saying that there are some sections of our good sisters out there who probably have taken the gospel a little bit too far. And there are some elements in the feminism which bring out more of the competition than the complementary. Because feminism, to me, and according to Chimamanda, is that the position of a woman should be respected and protected. That's it. But not that it should be put to the disadvantage of the other sex. No, that's not the idea. But you see, again, even when we say that Africa had a better way of accommodating the different God's creations, when you go to other jurisdictions, especially like America, United States of America, you even wonder why they claim to be the optimus of democracy, because it was not long ago when they just accepted women as voters and participants in electoral processes, and yet they claim to be the optimus of democracy. And when you look at even more recently, I want to submit that they rejected Hillary Rodham Clinton on account that she was actually a woman, not that she didn't have the capacity to become the president of America. Now, recently, Kamala Harris was also rejected on account of being a woman. Largely, they may not come out to say it, but we are everyday students of global dynamics. And we are able to tell that this is the kind of... So you find that, therefore, under such circumstances, world over, and now in particular in Uganda, when NRM came into power, they realized that there is a way the girl child has been disadvantaged by, if you like, we call it a patriarchal kind of society, dominated society, like we have been. And therefore, they said we can have certain empowerment mechanisms to make sure that we stabilize the girl child. And they went into, first of all, schooling. They said, let's every child come to school. To the extent that now, with the UPE and USE, if you do not bring a girl child, or any child for that matter, to school, you will be arrested. That's a very serious matter. Then the other aspect, and I think where there was serious issues, was the aspect of economics. And my brother Leandro here talked about it. Because it is generally accepted that a woman is a better handler of money, if I may put it that way, and that when she takes credit, she makes sure she multiplies it anyway by nature. I think that's how women are. For them, they are multipliers. You give us something small, even God knew it. So we are not surprised that they are even very good at business. And where they have been empowered and they have gone even in managerial positions, higher managerial positions, be it in the judiciary, we have got an increasing number of women in the judiciary, be it in the even the DPP, the prosecution team. The DPP office is proportionate. The males, females are higher. When you look at even at higher levels in the judiciary, the High Court, Court of Appeal, the women, the numbers are big. When you look at these other managerial, even in private sector, forget about the government, even private sector, you look at the banks, and in fact, it's even worse when you go to these like customer care level, tellers and what have you. The majority of them, 80%, they actually women. So you can see that even to the extent that the government has put a lot of effort in stabilizing, correcting the historical wrongs of the girl child, we have got increased numbers of the female in different areas of community, that we now fear that if we don't do something about the boy child, the girl child is going to be over empowered, and then we shall have another problem again to solve. Because you see, NRM, interestingly, is a victim of its own success. That we have produced so many products in the education system, and they don't have what to do. Now I'm glad that.
But even if they had not gone through the school system, they would still not have what to do.
You see, that is now another thing, and I agree because you make it worse. You see, we are talking about the Gen Z here. Now, tell me, the uneducated Gen Z on the street, they are hardly there. But when you have got people that you have, through your correct policies, educational policies, taken to school, they have gotten education, they have probably have diplomas and degrees, some with masters, but they don't have something structured. Because you can argue that, you see, government cannot employ everybody. Granted, no problem, we accept. But government has a duty to structure even the private sector, attract investors, increase employment opportunities in the private sector. That's the role of government.
That's okay. And the women will be empowered. We have a couple of minutes to go. So I want us to share these minutes. I will start with you, the Honorable Kumakech.
Yes.
So combine these two things. The main theme, really, was a very short theme: give to gain. Give to the women, and you have the whole of society gain. So I want to combine the two thematic areas we looked at today. At the East African community level, and women participation, and women positioning, and women roles at the community level, but in the other roles that promote integration. It seems that they are less in terms of power, even at the community level, but also roles in integration. Am I being pessimistic?
No, I think you are optimistic. What I see, if we are to dovetail the East African community agenda and the women roles, I see that we should open up opportunities for everybody and see how they play their role. Because just a sample of what the women do today. Even look at SACCO. I've seen when I was in campaigns in Gulo, you see that the best run SACCOs in the villages are run by the women, and they are very successful. And where men are, there are a lot of challenges on money. You find that situations are that even when the women are to declare, like this weekend, there's a lady who was supposed to receive money, but she could not let the husband know. So they coin it under Women's Day celebration. It's going to be at so and so's place. But it was that day was supposed to be money being given to that woman. You know?
That's how bad
So
it
you
is,
see
huh?
the level of mistrust. That is when I said, hey, I even didn't, they invited me to go. But when I heard about the issue, I said, let it not be a scandal. The man may arrive there when he has been totally deceived. That the woman went with a lot of money that evening after the celebration. So I don't know. It is not in our DNA that we should misallocate resources, but it looks like it is something which is happening a lot. And therefore, given the East African community thing, the economy of East Africa, if you look at how the women are working, I think they now contribute a very big percentage. For me, which I see as a very good improvement into the direction where we want. But the only thing we need to work around are the policy issues on power relations. Because if we are to talk about really a very structured and gendered issue of women-men thing, it's about power relations. How should we play together? So what should be the guideline of the game? So what should be our laws focusing on? We need to study. You know, as East African integration deepens, how should the power relations be? Because you find that in DR Congo, they may not be as deep as we have gone here. So how do we do all this? So, and that is the work of the chair and the whole secretariat. Actually, I sympathize with the secretariat. Because if I look at thematic areas that need studies, they are not doing even one. So then you say, now, how are they moving? Because before the summit moves, before the Council of Ministers are summoned, what are the issues that have been deeply, been brought to the table from the bottom, as you talk about the bottom line? Because the bottom line matters most to guide the agenda of the top. As long as the bottom is not done, you're wasting time with the top. The summit will sit, will just spend money with nothing, with no outcome. So for me, I see the emerging experience that is here is that the women are very trustworthy. Many are very trustworthy, and we should continue to harvest and also to cultivate on that hope. But of course, the whole thing at the end of the day should not just be about representation. I see that when you talk about women issues, it is all about representation. Representation is just a fraction of the whole thing. We should see the entire society. How are women structured together with the men? So the gendered roles, are they complementary as our pre-colonial society used to do? Is where we should bring in a lot of indigenous African way of life into our westernized, purely ideological thinking of women emancipation.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rugarama, somebody commented that you could see the question of affirmative action for women in the East African community just from the aesthetics of the summit, that group photo at the summit is a summation of what we are talking about. You have 2 minutes to conclude this.
I want to state as follows. One is that I do believe that we should not judge the effectiveness of affirmative action by merely looking at a few female leaders on top, but what exactly happens at the bottom? How are the former, if you like, marginalized female now operating? How are they earning? How are they making decisions across the board? And I think in the case of Uganda, and generally speaking, East Africa, we are putting up a good show, but we may not yet be there, but we are putting up a good show, and I would encourage that we keep it up, although in some areas where the affirmative action has been, like for instance the 1.5, It was for 10 years to be reviewed. If it has really, under studies, review studies, achieved its purpose, then it should either be scrapped or maybe maintained or lowered or whatever the case. Now, finally, I also take a look at the East African community. We should not be discouraged by some of these narratives, especially which are given to us or generated by our enemy. Our enemy is always known, and he does not like strength. By coming together, this is not a tea party. Coming together of this nature in the name of the East African community will attract all sorts of trouble, and it is our duty as people who are now present on planet Earth to overcome those challenges.
Thank you. And we need to overcome the challenge of time and sign out now. Yes. I want to thank the viewers very much for staying with us on the bottom line. So the bottom line, according to this gentleman, is affirmative action continues. The East African community coming together in itself is empowerment. And so all these empowerment things will come and empower us jointly. But from what I hear, my analysts say we all must play a part. We all have a part to play, and we must all play that part. So are you playing your part? And if you are not, please play it starting now. Baguma Tinka Simil Richard, on behalf of the production crew at Family TV, the bottom line, I want to thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
My guests, Honorable Leandro Konmakech, thank you for driving all the way from Guru to come
welcome.
and be part of this, your maiden appearance here.
Yes,
we really hope that you are going to be
I will make sure I do that.
As we come, Dr. Rugarama, who is a resident panelist, thank you for, I don't mean that you sleep in the studio. I mean that you are regular. Please stay with Family TV. It's a good night, and let's convene again on Wednesday, 9 p.m. so that we can look at the bottom line of the issues that affect us in this country. Have a good night and God bless you.
Thank you.
In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus